Shalom, shalom, and welcome. The title of today's class, A Time to Discontinue Heathenish Customs. A Time to Discontinue Heathenish Customs. We'll open up with Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. Jeremiah 28 and verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. So Jeremiah, you see that? The prophets that, you see what Jeremiah said? The prophets that came before me testified against what? Many kingdoms, many countries, and great kingdoms of war and evil and pestilence. You see that? Of war, the destruction and evil. You see that? That's going to fall upon you if you don't keep God's laws and pestilence. There were plagues, plagues, plagues. That's what you said. Most I always go send what? The prophets to warn the people before destruction comes. That's what he's saying. Go and warn them. Give them warning from me, says God. That's what he's talking about. Go to 1 Corinthians 4:9. Because yes, destruction is about to come. Verse 1 Corinthians 4:9. For I think that God has set forth us, the apostles, last, as it were appointed to death. You see that? So Paul is saying the apostles always come last. That was it. Jeremiah just say what? We always prophesy against kingdom, against countries. You see that? Of evil, of pestilence, of death. That you see that? You see that? Because what? God always send them before what? The destruction comes. And guess what? The destruction is about to come on this earth. That's what the Most I say. So I send them. Give them warning from me. Jeremiah chapter 10 and verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 1. The Most High is about to purge this earth. Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. So he's the warning. So Jeremiah said, God send this warning for you, O house of Israel. The word which the Lord speaketh unto you. Jeremiah didn't say, I speak unto you. He said, I am just the messenger. I'm going to testify what God says. O house of Israel, thus saith the Lord. This is what the Most High God says. The Most High God sent a message to you. You see that? Learn not the way of the heathen. Don't follow heathenish customs. Don't follow heathenish ways. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Stop watching the luminaries and reading them and calling horoscope and stop following these things. That's what he's saying. This is not for you, children of Israel. For the heathen are dismayed at them. It's a heathenish custom. That's what he's talking about. Astrology is talking about, all that stuff. Don't follow those ways, for you children of Israel. For the customs of the people are vain. God says, Jeremiah said, this is God's message. The Most High God, Yahweh says, this custom is vain. The customs of the people are vain. For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe. He's talking about what? They deck it with silver and with gold. He's talking about the Christmas tree. That's what he's talking about. You see that? They deck it with silver and gold. Silver and gold. We used to sing all them things coming up. You see what? They deck it with silver and gold. Those bulbs and tinsel, or what do they call it? You see that? They fasten it with nail and hammers that it move not. You see that? Then drive it and make the base for it. The tree stand. It's talking about Christ. That's a heathenish custom. God said what? Don't learn that. You children of Israel, you church of Israel. God said get out of that custom. Stop. Stop. What is another custom? Go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6. 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and start at verse 1. 2 Maccabees 6, we start at 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. You see that? So he sent what? Go from the Greece. Athens is Greece. He said what? Go and compel them. You see that? Go and compel them. Go and force them. Compel means what? Force. To depart from the laws of the God. Stop keeping the laws gone. Come and follow our customs. That's what we're talking about. Greekish customs. And not to live after the laws of God. You see that? Leave the laws of God. You see that? And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem. And to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympias. You see that? And that in garrison of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. Verse 3. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, because it's telling them to go against their God. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles. You see the heathen? You see that? The Greeks, you see the heathen nation, they took over the temple. Rioting and reveling in the Most High temple. You see that? Who dallied with harlots. You see that? They're having a time with harlots. Or whores. You see, you know what? They're having a time with them in the temple. Violating the Most High, defiling the Most High temple. And had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. You see that? Unlawful things they were bringing into the Most High temple. The altar was filled with profane things, which the law forbade. You see that? They bring in bad things to sacrifice. Bad animals to sacrifice on the altar. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts. You see that? So they forbid all the Sabbaths. They forbid the ancient feasts, the high holy days of the Most High. You see that? To the children of Israel, because you're under captivity, you're conquered. Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. You see that? You were banned. You couldn't even say there was a Jew. So that's why you're going to forget your identity. That's why the Most High say, Jeremiah, I'll make you and all discontinue. And in the day of the king's birthday, you see that? Every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. They were forced on the king's birthday. You see, that's another heathenish custom. Stop celebrating the birthdays. That's what he's saying, what? In the day of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. So they was having a party every month on that day. You see that? And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, so the king's birthday was the feast of Bacchus. You see that? The feast of Bacchus is a feast. Let's see what this feast of Bacchus is. The Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy. So at that point, they were forced to go and celebrate the feast of Bacchus. You see that? To celebrate his birthday. You see that? They were forced. Compelled means forced to go. Moreover, they went out a decree to the neighboring cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. So Ptolemy was the one that made that decree. And it was what? Celebrating the feast of Bacchus. So this Ptolemy. It was his birthday. They were celebrating the feast of Bacchus. I correct that. So he's talking about that. So you observe the fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. So the decree was what? If you don't do that, you are forced to do this. And if you didn't do it, you were put to death. You see that? You were put to death. But now what? You're doing it willingly. Let's see what you're doing. What? That procession of keeping that feast of Bacchus willingly. Ptolemy was forcing at that point to keep the feast of Bacchus. What? To celebrate Ptolemy's birthday. Right? But let's see what now. What the children of Israel, the Israelites scattered in the diaspora are doing. Willingly now. Go to this, the definition of Wikipedia, of Bacchanalia on Wikipedia. Bacchanalia. That's the definition of Wikipedia. The Bacchanalia, or Bacchanal/Carnival, that's on Wikipedia. Did I make it up? No. He said the Bacchanalia, or Bacchanal/Carnival. You see that? Carnival, you love that Carnival Monday and Tuesday. You better understand where it come from. Heathenish customs. The Most I say, what your forefathers or your ancestors were compelled or forced to go and celebrate the King Ptolemy's birthday. You see that? Celebrate the Feast of Bacchus in procession. You see that now you do nothing willfully. You're spending thousands and thousands of dollars. You're rushing to do that thing, not understanding you are the children of Israel, that the Most High God is scattered and punishing for violating his laws. You see what? And the Bacchanalia, or Bacchanal/Carnival, you see that? And he's singing that thing with glory, with pride. Were Roman festivals of Bacchus. You see that? This is what? You see that? They were Roman festivals. Why was it say Roman? The Greco-Roman god of wine. You see that? Because what? The Greco-Roman, the Greek empire was absorbed by the Rome. You see that? So it's Greco-Roman. You see that? The Greco-Roman god of wine. You see that? God of wine, drinking alcohol. You see that? But now we're seeing the carnival. Wine. You like to wine. You see that? There's also drinking wine, and that whining you're doing. You see it? You need to understand. Pay attention. Freedom. You see that? It was the Greco-Roman god of wine. Freedom. You see that? That free will. That god of free will. Intoxication. You see that? Intoxication. You're drunk as a fish. And ecstasy. You see that? So that's what that is about. That Bacchanal/Carnival, Bacchanalia. You see that? Intoxication, wine, freedom, intoxication, and ecstasy. You see Levi's allegations of frenzied rites. So Levi was accusing them of what? Frenzied rites or rituals, sexually violent initiations. You see what? Sexually violent initiations were happening at that Feast of Bacchus. You see that? As carnival. Now you're willingly doing it. That's what he's saying. Of both sexes. You see that? Of what? Both sexes, male and female. All ages. You see that? No age restriction. And all social classes. You see that? No class restriction. You see that? So the elite to the middle class to the lower class, at that Feast of Bacchus or that carnival or bacchanal, all bets off the table. There's no rules. There's everything. Because what? You're in a frenzy. You're in a frenzy and your mind, you ain't in your right mind because you're what? Intoxicated. You see that? Lots of wine and lots of whining. That's what you're saying. You're intoxicated and in ecstasy. Your mind in yours. You see, that's what you're saying. You're out of your mind. So we go to Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 23. Learn not the ways of the heathen. The time to discontinue what? Heathenish customs. Go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 and verse 23. You children of Israel, it's time to wake up. Wake up and come back to your God. Come back to the laws of the Most High. Judgment is about to take place on the earth. He's going about to flush the earth. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites. You see that? The Feast of Bacchus is what? Secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites. It's a reveling of what? Strange rites. Because what? They say what? The definitions. They had the frenzied allegations of, Levi's allegations of frenzied rites. You see that? Strange rituals. Sexually violent initiations of both sexes, all ages and all social classes. You see that? The revelings of strange rites. Ceremonies or revelations of strange rites. Initiations. Secret ceremonies. That's what we're talking about. But not in the public. You see that? And they do nothing willingly right now. Not understanding who you are. You're the children of God. 1 Peter 4:3. You need to come out of these things. That's what he's saying. Come out of these things and return to the Most High God laws before you get judged. Pay attention. What's happening on the earth. 1 Peter 4:3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. You see that Peter said? In the time past we were living what? Just like the Gentiles. The natural Gentiles he's talking about. The heathenish nations. We were doing the will of their will. When we walked in lasciviousness. What is the will of the Gentiles, the heathen nations? We just read it in 2 Maccabees 6:1-9. We walk in what? Lasciviousness. He said deep sexual lust. You see that? Lasciviousness, deep sexual lust. You see that? Lust. Excess of wine. You see that? Plenty wine. We just read that in the definition of Bacchanalia. You see that? The Greco-Roman god of wine. You see that? Drinking plenty wine. You see that? It's a heathenish custom. That's what Peter has said. The will of the Gentile. We were doing that in the time past when we didn't know who we were. We was in the midst of sin. Excess of wine means drinking excessively. Not saying you can't drink wine. You say, but just drink excess means getting drunk. Revelings. Doing what? Revelings. Partying, having a good time. Feast of Bacchus. That's what we're saying. What? Having a good time. Revelings. Banquetings and abominable idolatries. You see that? He said, they're going into what? It's abominable because they said the ways is the will of the Gentiles, not the ways of God, not the ways of the children of Israel. You see that? You were forced to do that in Maccabees. Now you do nothing willingly. Fete after fete after fete after fete. I can't wait till the next fete. I can't wait till the next carnival. That's what you see now. You need to understand who you are and where you are. Go to the Google, the definition of the word Samael. The definition of that word Samael. I'm going to show you something. Because they go do that Feast of Bacchus, right? Let's see what the Samael is. A time to discontinue heathenish customs. Let's go. This is the next heathenish custom. Another heathenish custom to discontinue or to stop. The definition of the word Samael. S-A-M-A-E-L. The venom of God. The poison of God or blindness of God. The left hand of God. This different definition. We call him, right? A figure who is the accuser. Ha-Satan. He's the accuser. Ha-Satan. Seducer and destroyer. You see that? He's the accuser. And what? Satan. Satan himself. You see that? The accuser. Go to Revelation 12:9. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 9. What does it mean he's accuser? Revelation 12:9. Who is that? And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent from the Genesis who was deceiving Eve, called the devil and Satan. That's who he is. The devil and Satan. You see that? Samuel is who? The devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Let's continue reading. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ, and the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. So who is the accuser? The devil and Satan himself. You see that? He's the accuser. Go back to the definition of Samuel. A figure who is the accuser, Satan, the devil and Satan. Seducer and destroyer. You see that? He deceived the whole earth. Your whole earth has been deceived. That's what you say. Time to discontinue heathenish customs. Come out of the heathenish custom and come back to the Lord your God. Continue reading down. Go down to as guardian angel and prince of Rome. He's the what? The guardian angel and the prince of Rome. That's what he's saying what? He's the arch enemy of Israel. So the children of Israel scattered in the diaspora. He said the devil is your arch enemy. He's accusing you to the Most High. He's keeping you in sin and reporting you to the Most High. That's what he's saying in other words. So you need to what? Get out of them sin to escape the wrath of the Most High. Because he's monitoring your behavior. He's setting snares and traps to you. He's done his customs and keeping you in the midst of sin and reporting you behind the Most High. That's his job. He's a deceiver. You see that? An accuser. He is the arch enemy of Israel. By the beginning of Jewish culture in Europe, Samuel had been established as a representative of Christianity. You see that? due to his identification with Rome. So he's a what? A representative of what? Christianity. You need to know where you're going and what you're serving and who God is serving. That's what he's saying. Be mindful. Come out from among them and be separate. That's what the Most High says, 2 Corinthians 6:17. Come out from among them and be separate and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Stop these heathenish customs. You see that? He's the what? Archangel of Christianity. Pay attention. God gave you 12 tribes of Israel, the sons of Jacob, and but laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments. You see that? Keep them. Keep them. Go to Acts chapter 7, verse 48-49. Acts chapter 7, verse 48-49. Acts 7 and 48. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as said the prophet. Most High say, I'm not dwelling in no temple you build with hands for me. You see that? So the mega churches, mega building, Most High say what? I ain't in them. I ain't in them. Go to Matthew 18 and 20. Where is he? Matthew 18 and 20. You need to read this Bible. You need to repent and keep God's laws, and you'll get the understanding of this book. This Bible, the Holy Bible. For where, Matthew 18:20, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, Yahushua HaMashiach, or Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, say what? Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, teaching Christ, preaching Christ, you see that? Keeping the laws, statutes, commandments, not pretending or acting and saying I'm under grace and by faith I be saved and I believe and I'm blessed and highly favored, I'm a child of God and not doing the commandments. You see what? In my name means what? You're doing my commandments, God, laws, statutes, and commandments. Where 2 or 3 gathered together, there am I in the midst of them. He said what? I am in the midst of them. My spirit is there. There I'm dwelling. Because they're worshiping the laws of the Father. That's what he's saying. And they're keeping my commands. And they're following my instruction. That we say what? Back to Acts 7:48. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands. You see that the Most High ain't in that mega church. He said in none of them big organizations. None of them. Because I'm not in there. Because they're not keeping my laws, statutes, commandments. You see that? The time to discontinue what? Heathenish customs. Because who is there? He said what? Samael is the what? The archangel of Christianity. That's the definition in Wikipedia. I didn't say it. You see that? That's their definition. God said it. You see what? He's the archangel, the accuser. You see that? The seducer and the accuser, the seducing angel, and the accusing angel. Keep you in sin. He said, snares and traps, keep you in sin, keep you right here. You see that? You cannot go back to the Father. Go to Galatians chapter 5 and verse 16. Galatians 5 and 16. Galatians 5 and 16. This I say then, walk in the Spirit. What is the Spirit? John 6:63. Walk in the Spirit. John chapter 6 verse 63. What does it mean to walk in the Spirit? It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profited nothing. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. What is the words? Isaiah 8 and 20. What is we understand what is the Spirit and what is the words? Isaiah 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. So what the Spirit that quickeneth is what? The words I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. The laws of God and the testimonies of God. That's what you see what? You see what? They are spirit and they are life. That's what's going to quicken you or bring you back to life from the dead, sinful state. That's when he said dead, you what? Spiritually dead in the midst of sin. That's what he's talking about. That's going to quicken you and bring you back to life. Galatians 5 and 16. This I say then, this is Paul, walk in the Spirit, or keep the laws and the commandments of God, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. You're going to overcome your sin. That's what he's talking about. You're going to get out of the what? The heathenish customs. For the flesh lusted against the Spirit. They see that? Sin against the law, a lawful spirit. It's what? 2 inclinations in your body, in you. Good and evil. That's what we're saying. Good have to overcome evil if you keep the laws. Evil will overcome good if you break the laws. That's what we're talking about. For the flesh lusted against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. Is a battle within you. And to do right or do wrong. To do evil or to do good. Keep God's laws or break God's laws. You see that? Pretend or keep the laws. Be sincere. And these are contrary one to the other. So that you cannot do the things that you would. You see that? The things that you want to do is contrary to God's laws. You see that? You're going to be walking after sin. You're going to be in the midst of sin. That's what he's saying. You cannot do the things that you want to do. That you choose to do. God will tell you what to do. But if you be led of the Spirit, or you do laws and commands of God, you are not under the law. You see that? So you've got to keep them, the law of what? Animal sacrifice. That we're talking about. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, and lasciviousness, deep sexual lust. You see what? You see idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies. You see what? Envying, murders, drunkenness, revelings. You see that? Yes, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you, and I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. You see what? If you do those things that Paul says, you cannot inherit the kingdom of God. So it's a time to what? Discontinue heathenish customs. As we say what? Read 2 Corinthians 6:17. 2 Corinthians, wherefore come out from among them and be ye separate, said the Lord, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you. Stipulation, the most I say, you have to stop them heathenish customs for me to what? Receive you. Revelation 18:4, last book of the Bible. Let's see what it says, Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of my people, and be not partakers of our sins, that you receive not of a plague. You see that? The most I say, the children of Israel, these sons of Jacob, the 12 tribes scattered in the diaspora. You see that? In the favelas, in the ghettos, in the slums. You see that? Catching hell and you don't even understand who you are. The most I say what? Come out from among. Stop these heathenish customs. You see that? Discontinue heathenish customs. Come back to my laws. That you receive not of the plague, the judgment I'm about to bring on this earth. I'm about to destroy the earth. That's what he's saying, and establish my kingdom on the earth. Shalom.